So that's called the Amavasya. So the moon ranges between the Amavasya to the full moon. So Purnima is of the full moon, and always on Purnima there is something special happening. And I think back home we always used to do full moon puja. What we meant was the Purnima puja, right? Because it's if you follow people like Sadhguru and things, this full moon is a special time. There's it also has some other implications. But what it means, the tide follows the moon. It's not just the tide that follows the moon. There's fluids flowing through us. This also tends to course upwards. So all these things, they have scientific bearing, right? So during different, this is why when you're falling in love, it's really become hard if you move, right? Because there are fluids flowing in your system and sometimes they go crazy. Right, ladies? So, ladies carry more of nature within them than men. But ladies are embodiments of nature. Right? Actually, people don't have to tell females this. Well, nature tells them this. Right? Nature doesn't tell us. Our friends sometimes tell us. But they give us bad advice too. So this week that passed, Monday was Sita Jayanti, also known as Sita Navami. And I want to offer a few prayers here with the Sri Suktam. A few verses we'll do. And these are verses of prayer to Mother Lakshmi. When we call something a Suktam, that means it comes out of the Vedic tradition. And it has a special way of being chanted. So we clasp the hands. We give a few verses of prayers here to Mahalakshmi Ma, also known as Goddess Shri. And the Sri Suktam is dedicated to her. Om Hiranya Varnam Harinam Suvarna Rajata Srajam Chandram Hiranmayi Lakshmi Jata Devo Mahavaha Dhamma Mahavaha Jata Devo Lakshmi Manapagarini Yasyam Hiranyam Vindeyam Vamasvam Purushanam Ashwapuram Rathamadhyam Asyanada Prabodhinim Sriyam Devim Upavaye Shrima Devi Jushatam Kamso Smitam Hiranya Prakaram Arnam Jwalantim Triptam Tantyantam Padmastitam Padmaya Varnam Tamha Payurvaye Shriyam Chandram Prabhasam Yashasa Jwalantum Sriyam Loke Divajushtam Udam Tam Padmam Sharanamaham Prapajye Lakshmi Me Nashyatam Tvam Vrine Om Hari Om Gandhadvara Duradarsham Nityam Pushtam Karishini Ishwari Gum Sarva Bhutanam Tamiho Bhavare Sriyam Om Shri Devi Pyo Namaha Namami Hari Om Hari Om. Now Sita Jayanti is also known as Sita Navami, and it's the birth celebration of Goddess Sita, also known as Goddess Shri. Whenever we're reading Tulsi's Ramayana, we often find her mentioned by this name Goddess Shri. So Lakshmi Devi is also known by several different names, Shri, and always Shri is associated with Sita Ma as well. And this is one of the most popular festivals in Hinduism. It's just that we, in the tradition we come from, we don't observe this that much, but it has a lot of agricultural implications. Sita Navami occurs on the Navami Tithi of the Shukla Paksh during the Vaishakha month. So I think I was trying to say something there. And this is something we're doing at an organization called the Hindu Professional Society of Canada, by the time myself and me. And we're looking for people who are interested in being authors of topic. If you've got a certain skill and you know something and you'd like to not take it with you to the grave, what do you know? That's not that good to learn. I'm encouraging you to be a teacher, right? All them gurus are teachers, right? We honor them because they teach. Right? Not because they walk around and they don't think educated. We honor these people because they can teach. The greatest gift on the face of this planet is the capacity, the capability, and the ability to teach. I remember going to university. And I was really affected by a female professor. Everybody I go with notebook and things, and I read them notes. And she come and she just put her cards on the table, and she delivers a lecture. And when you finish, you understood what she was teaching. Right? And it's up to your book to she didn't go into that. Right? All the other male professors, they got to read the book. Just that these guys are busy drinking after class. They were the females are very serious for what they're teaching. Right? Because you'll hear about them all. Professor Kovacs is not coming here tomorrow. He probably had a high history. At any rate, I'm not belittling the professor. What I'm saying, teachers affect you the most profound ways. And the teachers you can find, they can happen in this temple, they can happen in school, they can happen anywhere. They can happen on the sidewalk. When you meet somebody that they say something to you that's so profound that it changes your life. I think this is something that Schopenhauer says as well. He says sometimes the people I meet that have the most profound effect upon me are the people with whom I've had the most fleeting of contact. I mean, you might just pass somebody and say hi, that's like a fleeting contact. And that person taught you more than anybody else could. Sometimes people teach you by what they do, sometimes they teach by what they say. So there's different ways to teach. They teach you by example. Sita Ma is of this. She's somebody that has endurance. Right? Whatever vow she's taken, these vows are to her heart. So I'll continue here. In this same month and fortnight of Shukla Vaishakha, there's a couple of gurus. Some of you guys might know these names. One of the greatest acharyas of this tradition is Adi Shankar Acharya. His birthday was in the 5th Panchami of this same fortnight. So let me back up here a bit. The moon got 2 fortnights, a bright fortnight and a dark fortnight. When we say Shukla Paksh, we mean bright fortnight. Shukla means white. Krishna means dark. So when we say Shukla Paksh, we mean the bright fortnight. When we say Krishna Paksh, we mean the dark fortnight. The Shukla Paksh is when the moon grows and it goes to the full extent, which reaches its climax in Purna. And that's when all our hormones go crazy too. All our blood flows over here. Actually, that's a good time. Blood not flowing here. Then we can actually full sense. And then it goes down back, and it leaves the body and goes down here. So this Vaishakha month of Shukla Paksh, a lot of things happen. In the previous month of Chaitra, all the main festivals, the Ram Navami and the Hanuman observation happened in the Chaitra Shukla Paksh. So most of the festivals we observe happen during the Shukla Paksh of the moon, and in those months that we're talking about. So always if somebody asks you when is Bhagwan Ram celebration, it's Chaitra Shukla Navami. This is always it. Month of Chaitra, bright fortnight, 9:50. Mahavir Swami is reported. Same thing. Vadasita is Vaishakha month. We see Vaishakha Mas, Shukla Paksh, Navami Tithi. Adi Shankar Acharya, Panchami Tithi. Saraswati, Magha, Panchami Tithi. So all these things, once you understand these things, then the purpose of the Pandita and the preparation of the Panchami is to let you know what the solar day is. And it's not the same solar day as It's never December 22. Sorry. Because as I said earlier, the moon cycle is 354 days, the sun cycle is 365 days. So Sita or Janki or Vaidehi is the motherly aspect of the divine. This name originates from her father Raja Janak, who is also known as Vaideha, and he also comes from a place known as Mithila, and he is also known by the name of Mithila. We also find her name mentioned in the Vedic period. And in this era, she is associated with fertility and crops and of course plowing. So this must have been a big thing back then. And people are talking now about how we need to get back to better agriculture. I think Sadhguru is going around the planet and he's talking about we got to save soil. The reason is, when these people were plowing back there, they weren't plowing this whole earth and exposing it for the sun to dry it up. They were running a furrow, and this is what the Sanskrit word Sita means. You see the plows you see in the movie? They just create a little furrow, and in that they plant. When tractor come and now they dig up the earth, guess what? This is violent agriculture. You're destroying the things that are best there, that create the best food. right? So even the food quality is eating today because of improper agricultural methods. They only got like 70% of the vitality they had from previous days. When our grandparents were growing up in Guyana, the food was rich. It meant you had to eat less to get the same energy. If you had more, you were probably very straight. You probably had more water. And then you were done up with the So, so even here, like when Raja Janak was doing his plowing, and this is why they didn't destroy this Jordan they found, right? They're just taking a narrow line, they're on their plan. I spoke to one guy who's farming today, and he's farming up north. He said, "Hey, just look, we're not digging up the whole north. We're just running a track. What that is loose to planting. So we're planting in rows of furrows. So in terms of that piece. But the word Sita also means a furrow. So even then, they were planting in there, and as I was reading this, it occurred to me that these people had an advanced agricultural system. She's the incarnation of Mother Lakshmi, come to assist Bhagwan Vishnu in fulfilling the prophecies, which we find asserted in the Ramayana. And all of these were precursors for the Ram and the Sita avatars. She's born in the family of Raja Janak, the king of Mithila. Mithila, today they tell us is in what this place we call Mithila. Today is present day Nepal. And this is a Hindu stronghold, or the Hindu tradition is rich with. She is found in a jar or a golden vessel. There is not a lot that is told about her birth in the Adhikavya poem, which is Valmiki's Ramayana. There's not a lot told about her birth, but there is something told about when they set off on their journey for Chitrakoot, that she has to, actually, Valmiki tells them they should go see this place in Chitrakoot. So she's found in a jar or golden vessel, and as I'm saying, some of the stories that we have, some of these are called, there's a special English word, they call it apocryphal, which means that poets are at liberty to take and put in their own kind of things. And I think one of the great poets, one of the great Sanskrit poets is Kalidas, and his works are immortal. So because of the plowing, she becomes known as Sita. Sita means a furrow made by the plow. So she's born of the earth, she returns to the earth, as it's sadly related to us in the Uttarakhand of the Valmiki Ramayana. The story of Mother Sita is told in all versions of the Ramayana. The first version of this Ramayana, and one thing I want to tell people here, it's not Ramayana. Let's get so upset. It's Ramayana. Right? The God name that we worship is Narayana. Right? Unfortunately, as my friend Prakash, as my wife Prakash is saying, we got so colonized. The name becomes Narayan, Ramayana becomes Ramayana. Right? So we're bringing back a sensibility here. Okay, we got colonialized to say these things. Let us learn to say that properly. Ramayana means Rama's way. Right? So this entire story of the Ramayana is that. So she weds Lord Rama after he has strung and broken the bow of Bhagwan Shiva, and these were the conditions for the Swayamvar. The Ayodhya Khan of the Ramayana, and the Ramayana consists of a series of books. The Ayodhya Khan is what I like to call the book of the city, right? So the city is called Ayodhya. So it has many books. It has a couple of books. The first book is called the Balkan, which means the book of the beginnings, or the book of youth. Then there's the Ayodhya Khan, which is known as, it just talks about the city of Ayodhya. Then there's Aranya Khan, and there's a lot of our scriptures that come out of the forest, that these are known as the Aranya. So the word Aranya means forest. So my hope is that as we go along here, we're able to tell you some things that you're able to find useful. So Ayodhya Khan of the Ramayana tells in a romantic strains of their wedding. Actually, in Tulsidasa's Ramayana, it's very elaborate what they've gone through. They even describe all the perchance scenes, like when you go to a wedding, and the barat comes, the ladies of the home, where the bride lives, and the family, they come out and they do the arati waving, that is called the perchan. There's a detailed thing in a couple of chautais and a couple of dohas that speak to this. Her mother is Queen Sunaina, and her sister is Urmila, and her two cousins Mandavi and Shutakir. She and all the other princesses are married to the princes of the Raghu dynasty, Bharat, Lakshman, Shatrughan. After wedlock, she accompanies Lord Rama and the entire Raghu dynasty back to Ayodhya. There is a tearful party between her and her mother, the Queen Sunaya. One other thing here, in Hindi words, actually it begins with Sanskrit. In Sanskrit word, whenever they put the term "su" with any other word, it means good something. If they put the words dur or cow in that word, it means bad something. Right? So, Yudhan means a fighter. Suyodhan means a good fighter. Duryodhan means a bad fighter. Right? So this guy Duryodhan, he followed the original rules. Right? He'll employ any means. So, Sunaina, Nayan means I. So I ought to tell you. And she is instructed in the royal and spousal etiquette, as well as all the kind of chores and things that princesses need to know, and all females need to know to help to run their home. She is engaged in attending to and waiting on her mothers, and enjoys the company of her in-laws. When Lord Rama goes to the forest, is exiled to the forest, she gives up the comfort of the palace and worldly life, and this is true to her vows. She tells him, "My misfortune will be your misfortune will also be my misfortune." I think today, when young ladies and their spouses get involved, and if the guys go to the forest for exile, I don't think that's happening. Whenever guys go to the forest today, it's just for it's a resort you go to. There's no real so. Or they set up resorts in the forest to give you this kind of feeling. So, when Lord Rama is exiled, she gives up all the comforts of the palace and worldly life, true to her vows, to follow her Lord into exile. Actually, there's one chunk while you want to go there. And it really speaks about her capacity and her endurance. Jai Ram, Shri Ram. Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Rama Shri Ram, Jaya Jaya Rama, Shri Ram, Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Ram Jaya Ram, Jaya Jaya Rama, Shri Ram Jaya Ram. Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram, Jai Jai Rama, Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama, Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama. Shri Ram, Jai Jai Rama, Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama. So what's she saying here? This exile is a happening thing in this episode of the Ramayana, and everybody's making their case that they want to go with him, right? So she is the force that makes this case, and then it's going to be Lakshman's story, right? So She's making the case because he's saying he's going alone. And then she turns to him and she says, O Lord of my life, nothing in this world is delightful to me. As the body without a soul, and as a river without water. That would be the body, right? So bloody binu. So this is binu. And as a river without water, even so my Lord is a woman without her husband. In your company, my Lord, I shall be happy in every way, so long as I behold your countenance. So she's saying she just wants to be with him. She just cannot bear to part from him. And this continues a little bit, and there's a couple of things, and I'll just read this rest of it in English. And she finally closes her appeal with this Roha, which I know we're going to read. She says, if you leave me in Ayodhya till the expiry of the time of this 14 years, till the expiry of your exile, you may rest assured that I shall not survive. O friend of the afflicted, O handsome and congenial Lord, O storehouse of amiability and affection, if you leave me behind, rest assured I will not survive. So she's making her case that she has to go with him on this trip. So this is one of the hallmarks of Bodhisattva. And the weddings that they've done and the vows they've taken, these are things we do to this day. Up to today, these vows have this kind of sacred demeanor. So these are the type of things that her Leela tells us about. The story of Maya Sita emanating from the fire is also recanted in the Tulsi Ramayana, and is something that we need to be conversant with if we want to have a deeper understanding of the scripture. After many adventures in the rainforest, and I like to call this rainforest because this thing is beautiful, right? In this forest, a lot of life comes out of it, a lot of things. And it's always a shame to hear verdant rainforest being destroyed, and being destroyed out of just ill advice or just lack of care. So wherever we are, if we have the ability to help to look after forests and things, even if you don't believe this thing, believe the scriptures that we're reading. Rama is coming through this forest and he's seeing this thing and it's so beautiful. And he's telling Lakshman, look, see how beautiful this thing is. He's even comparing this thing to, like to a military thing. He's saying, look, all these trees, they're stationed like elephant soldiers. All this thing, they're stationed like a cavalry. And so he's pointing out to the kind of orderliness that's in nature. It's not a chaotic thing, right? It's chaotic when we plant it. But it looks beautiful too, right? So that, I didn't mean to throw any darts there, but we all do the best we can in our yard, which is beautiful, right? But a garden and setting up a forest is a totally different thing, right? And she who sets it up, well, she's the mistress of this thing, right? She knows what she's doing. I saw something not too long ago, and it goes like this. One guy, he's a forest biologist, right? And he says, I don't know what's the matter with these people. They think they're doing good, but they're doing bad. They're trying their best. So all I can do is give them points for it. They'll plant about a whole acre of cedar. He said, when nature plants, you don't plant a whole acre of cedar. She has that kind of diversity going on, right? He says, what do you think will happen here if this thing catches fire? Its torch is gone, right? We have no sensibility. We got a lot of book sense. We haven't got practical sense. We don't study what's happening in the world outside us. We're not seeing the patterns that are there. We're not learning from what's there. Mother Sita embodies all of this. And she's the goddess of the forest. She's the goddess of agriculture, really, when we think about these things. So after many adventures in the rainforest, this is an important aspect of the avatars. And it's not only to sing their praises, but to also enlighten the landscape. Wherever they walk, it becomes sacred space, right? They walk through India, and this is one of the things I'm writing an article on. It's called Tracing the Steps of Rama. As they leave Ayodhya, I think people who've gone to India on pilgrimage, they come to a place called Sringeri. They're going to cross the Ganges there. Then they're going to walk, they're going to come to a place called Prayag. So when we're discussing the geography, I want to look at these things, because all these things have sacred countenances. When we're looking at Indian movies, at Filmi Gita Day, there's always a river and a couple of things that meet. That is Prayag, right?
A lot of the movies go to these places because they're such great scapes. They're not just landscapes, right? They're riverscapes, they're rockscapes, they're just beautiful scapes. And this is why the songs that they sing there make things so beautiful. Aankhon se jo teri hai dil mein, what the song was? His picture sinks into my heart, something like that, right? That song is sung at Prayag, right? Or the scenery, the landscape for this Prayag, right? And it has an emotional thing if you have an understanding for what's there. So this is one of the things there. So after many adventures in the rainforest, the landscape that they walk through, they make this place sacred. And earlier I said, a place is sacred depending on one's attitude to that space, right? And most Indian people, they'll go to all these places and they set up shrines and things like that. But on the other hand, they dump garbage in the Yamuna River and all these type of things. So and all of this thing happened, I think, because of colonialism. But you lost your respect for that place. It's not that important anymore. So we need to get back to that kind of thinking. And a lot of people from different traditions are trying to do this today. Sometimes they're having to legislate for us to have a certain sense of the environment. Now, to bring this to a close, we know the story of Mother Sita. She gets overcome by a golden stag as they're there in the forest, and she sends Bhagwan Ram to fetch his stag. He's telling her, Devi, he actually doesn't say Devi, he says my darling, the special word, Priyatam. He says, this is not a real thing. So, but she wouldn't be sweet, right? And so the story goes on that she sees this thing and she gets overcome. And because of this thing leads to her demise. She gets kidnapped, she gets abducted by Ravan and so on. And she has to spend a year in Lanka. Ravan cannot make advances upon her. And Bhagwan Sri Ram comes to rescue her. Hanumanji visits her. And when Hanumanji visits her, I like to say he goes to her in a certain way. He speaks to her. This is the first thing of psychotherapy. How to talk to somebody who's in distress. You're not going to go find somebody in distress and you're going to go slap them and so on, right? They probably get into deeper depression. You got to find ways to reach them. So he sits up in a tree and he sings sweet songs about Rama. And she hears these messages, and this thing pierces her heart. And she's able to temporarily get out of her sorrow, her depression. She was so depressed before he came, she was thinking of committing suicide. Right? It tells us this in the Ramayana. She's making things, oh Ashoka tree, your leaf is red. Why don't you just, this light that you got in this fire, why don't you just consume me? Right? I'm here wasting time, my Lord is not coming for me. Right? So Hanumanji reaches her, and this is one of the greatest episodes in this Ramayana. I like to say long before there was a Dr. Phil or a Dr. Chopra, there was Hanumanji, right? These guys are following. They're following along in that vein, right? They're listening to the great psychotherapist speak. And he comes, and there's a line up here that says, Ashta Siddhi Now Niti Ke Data Asavaradin Janaki Mata. She's so pleased to see him. She calls him her son too, right? And she bestows upon him his gifts. 8 siddhis, 9 nidhis, right? 8 siddhis are various yogic powers. 9 siddhis are various treasures, various gems. And I like to think that these gems, they also have a Navgraha implication, a gem for each graha. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been 9 siddhis. So all these things, they have a certain root. And if you're studying Jyotish and this scripture and so on, and you're not close to certain things, you can see certain things flow back to the home. So Rama comes to rescue her, and I think we know the story about but my time has run out. I didn't think I would take this much time, but I'm so passionate about some of these subjects. Once you get me started, it goes. So we'll put hands together, clasp hands, and we'll give thanks to all the outdoors for coming, because when they come here, they teach us something. They'll sometimes teach us something very profound, they'll sometimes teach us something about ourselves. Always, when we're scrutinizing what the avatars do, we're supposed to scrutinize what they do against our own backdrop. That's a man, that story that makes sense. Man, that stupid story. You stupid for thinking the story is stupid. right? I don't mean that in a bad way.
You're not giving something that has profound impact upon you. This is what all these ancient scriptures and stories are telling us. And they're meant to be simple, because if they're hard, you're going to run away from them. Right? So in the enactment of these stories is the answers to life questions. So let us this day go forth to say whatever we hear of the whole scriptures. We're not going to be cynical. It's good to be skeptical, but it's not good to be cynical. Cynical means you already know, right? I hear one famous line, I'll close with this. It's okay to say you don't know. It opens you up to possibility. If you already know, it means it's not possible to let you know something else. You just happen to know it all. It's okay to say you don't know. It's okay to say you're ignorant, right? Because if you don't know, you're open to knowing. If you know, you're a closed vessel, right? You're not good to anybody. You might be good to yourself temporarily, right? But even guys who know too much, they come to a certain end, right? And we just say smart flight, you know the rest. And clasp in prayers. Om Satchidananda Rupaya Vishnupatyade Kave Apatraya Vinashaya Sri Krishnaya Vayundava. We take us to
fellow devotees, Ram Ram. Thanks for joining us this morning. Both those of us here physically, and those of us who are here in spirit, mentally, and those who are here with us electronically. Thank you for being with us, spending your time with us this morning. Thank you, Panditji, for taking us on this spiritual journey this Sunday morning. I'm sure that we all have got some enlightenment from your little talk and the prayers this morning. The announcements this morning will be limited. Next Sunday, it's a long weekend here, and we're going to take that opportunity on the long weekend to do some maintenance on our prayer room here on the building. So as such, we will not be having service next Sunday. Please pass the word on to those who you know might be interested in coming in on Sunday, or for that matter, even looking at us electronically. I don't think the plan for next weekend includes videotaping the maintenance that we're doing. So no, we will not be on live next Sunday. Of course, programs of this week and previous weeks will be available for reflection, and hopefully you can draw some inspiration from those sessions. That will then tide you over to the following week. So again, there will not be service in temple next Sunday. The service will be limited to some maintenance activities in the building. Before I close, also I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate our leader, administratively, spiritually, Bharatari Sukram. He recently celebrated a birthday. I'm not sure if that's why he's not here today. I'll have to find out that. But we'd like to extend our congratulations to him. I would ask Rocco to sing a very short tribute to Pandit. He doesn't like to make mountain out of the molehill, as he calls his birthday, but we will do our little bit to pay tribute to him. After that, we will then stand for Aarti and close with prayers.
I look on the play this song, so I sing one verse and sing a piece for the song. Thakur bhale biraje, Thakur बने विराजे ओ जगन्नाथपुरी में ठाकुर बने विराजे ठाकुर बने विराजे ठाकुर बने विराजे जगन्नाथपुरी में ठाकुर बने विराजे ओ जगन्नाथपुरी में ठाकुर बने विराजे
Sure, he's looking up. Thank you. So let's all stand for our tea and closing prayers.
जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे भक्त जनों के संग सजनों के संकट जन में दूर करे। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। जो धारे पल पावे दुख दिन से मन का। ओ स्वामी दुख दिन से मन का। सुख संपत्ति धरवावे, सुख संपत्ति धरवावे, कष्ट मिटे संसार। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। माता पिता तुम मेरे शरण कहो जिसकी। स्वामी शरण कहो जिसकी। तुम बिना और न दूजा, तुम बिना और न दूजा। आके करो ओम जय जगदीश हरे। तुम पूरन परमात्मा तुम अंतर्यामी। ओ स्वामी तुम अंतर्यामी। पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर, पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर, तुम सबके स्वामी। ओम जय जगदीश। तुम करुणा के सागर, तुम पालन करता। ओ स्वामी तुम पालन करता। दीन दयाल कृपालु, दीन दयाल कृपालु, कृपा करो भरता। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। तुम हो एक अमोघ सबके प्राणपति। ओ स्वामी सबके प्राणपति। किस विध विनो दयाल, किस विध विनो दयाल, तुम हो वैकुंठपति। दीन बंधु हरता ठाकुर तुम मेरे। ओ स्वामी ठाकुर तुम मेरे। अपने हाथ उठाओ, अपने हाथ उठाओ, द्वार पराते। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। विषय विकार दिखाओ, पाप हरो देवा। ओ स्वामी पाप हरो देवा। श्रद्धा भक्ति बढ़ाओ, श्रद्धा भक्ति बढ़ाओ, संतन की सेवा। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। जय जगदीश हरे। स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे। भक्त जनों के संग, सात जनों के संग, दूर करे। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। ओम शांताकारं भुजगशयनं पद्मनाभं सुरेशं विश्वाधारं गगनसदृशं मेघवर्णं समानम् लक्ष्मीकान्तं कमलनयनं योगिभिर्यादिनं वन्दे विष्णुभवैर्हरं सर्वलोकैकनाथम् ॐ त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव सदा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं ममेव देवा पापकर्मा पापात्मा पापसम्भवा पाहितं पुण्डरीकाक्षं सर्वपापो हरो हरि मन्त्रहीनं क्रियाहीनं भक्तिहीनं जनार्दनं या च पूजितं मया देवा परिपूर्णं कलस्व मे बार परमांगो हर्षदेव श्रीराम परसरोजनपाणि भक्ति सदा सत्संगस्य भज रामचंद्र की जय शरणं प्रभु उमापति महादेव की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय सिया भज रामचंद्र की जय शरणं प्रभु ओम गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेव महेश्वरा गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः न जानामि विसर्जनम् Om Shanti, Antariksham Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Rapa Shanti, Mushadeva Shanti, Vanaspati Shanti, Vishnudeva Shanti, Brahma Shanti, Sarvibhum Shanti, Shanti Deva Shanti Sama, Shanti Deva Bhavati, Om Shanti.